Hello, welcome to the second episode of the podcast. My name is Tom. Today we have Accrington's captain, number 28, Seamus Conneely. I hope you're all enjoying. So, growing up in Ireland, how did you get into football?
Well, I was actually born in London. I lived in London till I was 10. So I used to play football in the school playground. That was it, with my friends. And then a group of our parents got together and started a football team where we played in like a Sunday league, under 8s, under 9s, under 10s league. And I got into it then. My friends all enjoyed playing football. I liked watching it on the TV. My dad used to watch. Me and my dad used to watch games every weekend. And yeah, it was always a big part of my life. And then I moved to Ireland when I was 10, and I started playing a sport called Gaelic football as well. It's an Irish sport, but I kept playing the football as well. I like golf as I was younger growing up as well. Always very much, very sporty, into sport. Liked playing it, liked watching it on TV. So always been a big part of my life.
Did you ever go to any games as when you were younger?
Yeah, Selhurst Park was my nearest club. Nearest ground, when I was younger, when I lived in London. So Crystal Palace used to play there, and Wimbledon used to play there, probably before you even remember that. Wimbledon used to be in the Premier League. They played at Selhurst Park. So I'm a Newcastle fan. So when Newcastle used to come to play Palace or Wimbledon, I'd go and watch them. And my brother was an Everton fan, so we'd go and watch Everton if they came to Selhurst Park as well. That was our local ground.
How did you balance football and school?
It wasn't an issue. Growing up, I played in secondary school. So I'd moved to Ireland at this time. I played Gaelic football in secondary school and football, and it was quite a sporty school, so they gave a lot of time for the athletes to train and to play games. They found it very important that their students, if they were athletic, were able to fulfill their potential. So no, it never became an issue for me. I went to university after I finished school for 3 years. I was able to play part-time football then for a team called Galway United. They were in the League of Ireland. That was my first professional team, but they were only part-time, so it worked out well. I could do my studies as well at the same time. And that was before then I moved to Sheffield United when I was 22.
At what point did you realise you wanted to be a footballer?
I don't think there was ever a point. I used to say that I didn't want to be a footballer, but that was, I think, was because I didn't want to set myself a goal that I couldn't achieve. So I kind of played it down a little bit, and it was never something that I desperately wanted to be, but it just kind of happened. So I used to, like I said, I played football underage and was lucky enough then to sign for a professional team in Galway United when I was 19, who were part-time. And then I did well with them for 2 or 3 seasons. I got called up to the Ireland under-21 team. So I think when I was called up to the Ireland under-21 team, I realised I must be of a decent standard and maybe I could make a living playing football. And through Ireland under-21s, I got a trial at Sheffield United. And once I signed for Sheffield United, that was my first professional forms for a team in England. So then I realised I was a professional footballer then. It was trying to maintain that and try and make a living out of the game.
Did you have a plan B if football didn't work out?
Never really did. I had my qualifications. Like I said, I went to university and I did a geography degree. So I suppose if football didn't work out, geography degrees kind of you go down the teaching route. But since I've been a footballer, I've just completed another degree in the University of Staffordshire in sports journalism. So I think that's what I'm looking to do after football. Go down the journalism route, like interviews, radio, television, podcasts. I haven't narrowed it down yet, but anything along those kind of lines interests me.
Do you remember your first number?
Yeah, 25. Galway United was 25. I was 23 at Sheffield United, 29 at Sligo, and 28 at Alfreton. So I was in the 20s. I've never had anything lower than that. I was offered number 4 once, I think, at Accrington. Actually, it started 1 season, but I didn't. It doesn't mean much to me, the numbers. It's only a number on the back. I know some players can be. It means a lot to them, and they feel a lot better if they wear a certain number. It's never had that effect on me.
Have you always played in midfield?
No, I was a right back. I started off right back when I was at Galway United, and when I went to Sheffield United, I was still a full back. And they kind of turned me into more of a midfielder. And then as I got released from Sheffield United. I went back to Ireland to play for Sligo Rovers, and I became more of a centre midfielder there. And obviously at Accrington, I've played centre midfield all my time at Accrington. I think as I've gotten older, I've gotten a bit slower, and I couldn't play fullback anymore. As you know, tricky winger would be a bit too fast for me. I can get away with not being the fastest in that role that I play at the moment for Accrington, kind of a holding midfield role.
If you got told, can you play centre back? Would that be all right by you?
Yeah, I mean, I can do it. I have played at centre back in times during my career. I can. One of my biggest attributes would be reading the game. I'm quite good at reading the game, so that's important for a centre back. I'm probably not the biggest. I'm just under 6 foot. So for a centre back in League One, most of them would be 6'2", 6'3", and quite physical. So that would be a negative to me playing centre back. But I have done it, and I've listen. If it was a choice between playing centre back or being on the bench, I'd rather play centre back. I'd play anywhere just to play. Obviously, my best position is midfield. But if the manager ever asked me to play anywhere else, I'd just do my best in that position.
Who did you look up to as a child?
Well, I suppose like I mentioned, I was a Newcastle fan, so my heroes for Newcastle would have been Alan Shearer, Les Ferdinand, Faustino Asprilla, and then as Irish growing up, Roy Keane would have been a hero of mine. Some of his performances for Ireland are legendary amongst Irish fans, and what he achieved in the game. And I think he admits himself he's not the most naturally gifted player. And he showed that you didn't have to have, bundles of skill to be able to do step overs or hit 70, 80-yard passes or drive past 2 or 3 players to be a professional footballer. There's a lot to be said for having a desire, being a leader on the pitch, getting the best out of your teammates, and playing the game in a simple way, which is how he played it. And I think that showed to me that I'm obviously not as good as Roy Keane, but some of those attributes I have to a lesser extent, and I've been able to make a living off of those attributes.
You said you've gone to Sheffield United, and I've seen Alfreton on loan.
Yeah.
Do you get told, these are houses you can live in? Yeah.
So when I moved to Sheffield United, because I was young, I was only 21, 22, they put me in with a family. They have like 5 or 6 families that look after young footballers who come to Sheffield from other countries. For the first 4 or 5 months, you live with a family, so they cook your meals, do your washing for you, and the club pay for that. So that's what happened to me. So that was very handy to help me settle in Sheffield. In Sheffield, because obviously I didn't know anyone. I've never lived away from home, and I mean, I never really settled. Obviously, I settled with that family; they were very good to me. But at Sheffield United, I never felt like I was good enough. It was a big step up for me, and probably it was too big of a step for me at the time. I never played with the first team. I always felt in training I was quite nervous. I didn't feel like I was good enough to be playing with these players. Lots of them were internationals, championship players. Some of them had played in the Premier League only 2 or 3 seasons before. So I found it difficult to settle. And I was released after 18 months without playing a first team game. And that didn't come as a surprise. I expected that. And then I went back to Sligo Rovers. And just as luck would have it, I met up with John Coleman. He became the manager of Sligo. And he got the job at Accrington, and he asked me, did I want to come to Accrington and have another go in England? And by that time, a girl who I'd met in Sheffield, Lauren, had become my wife, and she was in Sligo with me, but she was anxious to get back home, closer to her family, so it suited. Sheffield and Accrington's about an hour and a half away, so it was a good move for us initially, and over the past 5 or 6 years, we've had some successful times on the pitch.
What's the biggest drivers when making a decision on a new football club to move?
Yeah, for me, so like I said, the move to Accrington was a lot based around my wife. She was my girlfriend at the time, but she was anxious to get back home to her, closer to her family. That was a big thing for me, that Lauren was happy, and also I think making a living as a footballer in Ireland, everybody wants to get over to England because you get a longer contract. You become part of the PFA union, which is a fantastic union. You're there for life. They're the ones who actually paid for my university degree to study sports journalism. So there's a lot of perks to being a footballer in England. So that had a lot of bearing to me moving to Accrington. And obviously the manager was John Coleman, who I already knew, and I knew that he rated me. So I felt comfortable moving to Accrington in that regard.
Do you get approached from teams such as Sheffield United?
Yeah, so the Sheffield United one came about because I went there on trial. My Ireland under 21 manager suggested to a coach at Sheffield United, John Carver, that they have a look at me, and they invited me over for a week's trial. And obviously, I did well in that week. I must have done something right, so they signed me off the back of that. Going to Alfreton on loan from Sheffield United was the Sheffield United manager, Danny Wilson. He wasn't picking me, but he could see that I needed to play some games. I needed to play some first team games somewhere. So he pulled me in training one morning and said, "Listen, I think it'd be a good move to go to Alfreton on loan. They're a conference team. They've watched you play reserve games. They like you. And if you do there and go well, it might help you get another contract at United." So I did that. I went there for 10 games. I did okay. I did all right, but I didn't get the contract extension with Sheffield United. But I didn't really expect that to happen. So I went back to Sligo Rovers, and then Accrington, as I mentioned.
Are agents ever involved when moving?
They can be. I mean, I don't have an agent now. I don't feel like that I need an agent to negotiate things, because the relationship I have now with John Coleman at this stage, we've worked together for 6 or 7 years. So if I ever renegotiate my contract with him, we can do it together. But certainly agents are involved. I have had agents in the past that have helped me out with a bit of advice. There's an awful lot that goes into a contract. It's not just 4 or 5 lines. You're talking about 10, 11, 12 pieces of paper, full of writing. So to take that all in, especially as a young man, 21, 22, it's good to get some advice and get somebody who knows what they're reading about involved to help you.
How does it feel to become captain at Accrington?
Yeah, I mean, it was a surprise. I'd never been a captain before at any of my other clubs, and I think it came about that for some reason the captain at the time was injured, the vice captain was suspended, the one after that was injured as well. So John Coleman just needed somebody to give the armband to, and I think he just used it as he just wanted to get a bit more out of me on the pitch. I think he wanted me to become more vocal, more of a presence on the pitch. I think he could see those qualities in me, but he wanted to, get them out of me. So he thought, right, I'll give Seamus the armband, and that will hopefully give him the confidence then to be a bit more vocal on the pitch, a bit louder, a bit more of a presence. And it definitely did help me. I mean, it certainly gave my confidence a boost. And I feel like I've grown in the role over the last 4 or 5 years, to a point now where I'm quite comfortable with being the captain of Accrington. At the start, it was something very new to me. Like I said, I'd never been a captain before, but now I enjoy the role.
Can a captain win a game?
Yeah, no, not by themselves. No, there's no such thing as a one-man. No such thing as a one-man team. That's a myth. I mean, a captain can play a vital role, as anyone can, as any player can. I think my role in the team is trying to get the best out of the other 10 players. I'd always. I'm quite consistent in my performances. I consistently be a 6 or a 7. Maybe an 8 some weeks. But there's other players that some weeks they might be a 9 or a 10, and other weeks they could be a 4 or 5. So my role is to try and get those players, 9s, 10s, most weeks, get the best out of them. And it's about knowing how to get the best out of them as well. That's a key thing for a captain. Some lads need to be told off, need to be, shouted at, roared at to get the best out of them. Arm around the shoulder, more encouragement, right, you've made a couple of mistakes, don't worry about it. I know you're a player than this. And that's how you get the best out of them. And that's a very important thing as a captain, knowing who your characters are in the team and what's the best thing to do to get the maximum out of them on a match day.
If you've just conceded a goal, do you feel responsible to get team morale back up?
Yeah, I do. If I've been a part of that goal and been a reason why we've conceded, it's kind of difficult to to shout at other players or to tell other lads to do their job better if I feel like I've not done my own job. Because I feel like they'd just be looking at me thinking, you need to look at yourself, Seamus. I try to be more encouraging in that regard, in that instance when we've conceded a goal or we've fallen behind, just to get more belief back in the team and confidence back in the team that we can find a way back into the game. And I do feel a responsibility when we've lost games, especially when we've lost 2 or 3 on the bounce, to find the answers, to find the reasons why we've lost the game, what it is that we didn't do right. So I do analyze, videos and watch my own performance back, but watch the team's performance as a whole to try and figure out what it was, what's going wrong, and what we need to do to change it to become more successful.
Yeah, linking to that, what are your responsibilities off the pitch as a captain?
So I'd be like a go-between between the players and the manager. If any of the players had any questions for the manager, and the manager, it works the other way as well. The manager might come to me, and for example, if we were playing a team, usually if we're playing a team about 3 hours away, we travel the day before and we'd stay the night because it's a long way to travel on a game day. Anything under 2.5 hours, we'd just travel on the day. But maybe if there was somewhere in between, like just on 3 hours, maybe 2 hours, 45 minutes, the manager might come to me and said, right, Seamus, ask the lads, would you rather, travel the day before, or would you rather just travel on the day? And then I'd speak to the lads as a group and say, lads, what would we rather do? Do we want to travel on the day? Do we want to travel the night before? And just act as that go-between, really, between the manager and the players, and particularly then when there's any new signings that come in, making sure they know where everything is, where the kit room is, changing room is, how the fine system works, what time training is going to be, where the gym is, anything like that, just making sure they settle in very quickly. I think that's an important thing that a captain has to do.
What's it like playing under John Coleman?
He's very demanding. There's never any time to feel like you've arrived or you've been successful and that you don't have to work hard anymore. He's constantly, we've had some successful times. We've made the playoffs. We've been promoted. We've won a league. We're doing okay this season as well, but there's never any let up. He never lets anyone rest on their laurels, feel like you've done enough, and all you have to do is turn up on a Saturday and you're going to win the game, because it doesn't work like that. And he's always hammering home that you have to keep training hard, working hard, looking after yourself, eating right, preparing right for games, analysing the opposition, and giving 100% when you're on the pitch. And that's the recipe for success. It's not easy to do it all the time because it's constant, but he does his best to make sure that all of his players know that that's what's required if they want to play for him and want to play for Accrington Stanley.
What does analysis include for a midfielder?
So we'd always, as a group, we'd always watch the opposition a couple of days before. If we were to play a team on Saturday, we'd watch them on Thursday. Maybe they're attacking, and on Friday morning we'd watch them defensively, watch their set pieces, what they do from corners, attacking wise, defensive wise, and just their general style of play. And then as we're watching those videos, I'll kind of try and zone in on how their midfielders play. So my opposite number, who I'm going to be up against, what positions they like to take up, how they like to pass the ball, just any their general style of play. So do they like to hit 60 or 70 yard passes? Do they like to play simple, short to feet? Do they like to run on in behind the back four? And just try and pick up anything that I can, so that come Saturday I have a little, half a step, maybe a step ahead. But I'm sure they're doing the same for us. There's a lot of video analysis that goes on in football now. Every team watches their opponents 1, 2, 3 times before they play. That's just part of the game now.
What's a typical rest day for you?
I used to go to the swimming pool on a rest day, but obviously we can't do that now because of the lockdown. The leisure centre that we use is closed. But I used to like to go to the swimming pool, and would always feel a lot better after being in the pool. My legs would be a lot fresher. Sometimes, so now I might have just a cold bath at home, and then my legs feel a lot better after that. I go into the training ground and use the gym, just stretch, foam roll, do some yoga, maybe do some weights depending on how I feel. But yeah, those are the kind of things I do, and I feel like I need to do them more now as I'm getting older. My body is getting a lot, finding it harder to recover between games.
Did lockdown affect you in the first lockdown?
It did, yeah, it did. It took me quite a while to get back to where I wanted to be. So we were off for, I think it was 5 or 6 months. We were off without playing football. All we could do was train ourselves at home. We did a Zoom yoga twice a week, but obviously it's not the same as playing games and you know, kicking a ball around basically. So after 5 months, we came in for pre-season, and I didn't feel like I got up to the pace of where I needed to be until I'd say 3, 4, 5 weeks into the season. Whereas usually I feel like I'm ready to go come the first game of the season, and I wasn't like that this season. I think one, because I'm 32 now, so coming towards the end of my career. But obviously lockdown was a major thing. I'd never not played football for so long. Like I said, 5 months is a long time for anyone not to play football, but particularly when you're in your early 30s and coming towards the end of your career, it's a long time to be away from the game. So it did take me a lot longer than usual to get back to the pace of the game.
Did the club set things for you to do?
Like I said, they gave us we did online yoga twice a week, and they gave us like a running program for us to do. But that was basically all we could do, was just go out and run on the road. So every day, every couple of days, you try and up your distance and then up your times. But that was it. Between yoga and running on the road, that was as much as we could do in the lockdown because of the government restrictions. So obviously that played a massive part in when everyone came back for pre-season. We had quite a few injuries. I mean, I got injured in pre-season, and 5 or 6 other lads did, and I know it was the case in many clubs up and down the country. They had a lot more injuries in pre-season this year than most seasons, and that was just because purely down to the amount of time that we'd had off, and our bodies, having so much time off and then getting thrown back into an intense pre-season so quickly. We'd never experienced that before. And to be fair to the clubs, physios, sports scientists, they really didn't know the best way to manage it, because no one had ever done 5, 6 months off before. They didn't know what the best way to build each other's, or to build the players' fitnesses up. So like I said, there was quite a few injuries, more than usual in this pre-season.
Can you tell with an injury on the pitch if you think, oh, I might be out for the rest of the season?
You can tell that you're injured. Yeah, I can tell that I'm injured. I wouldn't be able to tell you, oh gosh, I'm out for the season here. Thankfully, I've never felt that, and that's never been the case. Injuries I've had, I've torn my hamstring, torn my groin, and those are things you feel on the pitch straight away, and it's not right, but you're just hoping that maybe 3, 4 weeks max, that'll be the most time you're out for. And thankfully, that probably is the most time I've missed in a season. So I've been quite lucky with injuries.
In lockdown, did you strengthen more than cardio?
It was probably more strength at the start, because we were told it looked like the season was going to get called off, and we didn't know when we were going to come back. So we were told to lay off the running now, use this as your rest period, use this as your off season, because it is important that you do take 2, 3, 4 weeks off every year where you don't really do any running, to let your body recover. So we were told at the start to do more core work, strength work, yoga work, stretching, and then as it came clearer that we would have a date to return to training, which was I think it was the end of July we came back. It's usually the end of June. We didn't come back to the end of July this year. We were then told to build up our running, lengthen the distances we were running, increase the pace that we were running at in preparation for coming back to training at the end of July.
Describe your day from waking up to playing at 3 p.m.
Okay, so I usually wake up about 9 o'clock. My wife gets up with the kids. They're usually up at 6:30, 7 o'clock. So on a match day, my wife will get up with them to give me a bit of a lie-in. I'll eat some cereal about 9 o'clock, either cereal or porridge, preferably porridge, and then I'll have my pre-match meal at about 11 o'clock, 4 hours before kickoff. And my pre-match meal is usually tuna pasta with some spinach. I find that green food is good for energy. It's slow releasing, and it fuels you for the whole game. And then I leave for the ground at about 12:30. Arrive at the ground at 1 o'clock, about 2 hours before kickoff, and then just prepare for the game in the changing room. So it's stretching, foam rolling, loosening up, and then you listen to the manager. He names the team, gives the team talk, and then out for the warm up, ready to go for 3 o'clock.
Do you have any pre-match rituals that you do?
No, not really. No, I don't think so. I can't think of any. No, that I do. I always take my rings off, put them in my wallet. I don't know if that's a superstitious thing. That's about it, I think. Yeah.
Do you listen to any music before the game?
Just whatever's on in the changing room. I don't listen to my own personal music. So there's like 2 or 3 of the players who control the music. It's not always the best, but I just listen to whatever's on in the changing room. Yeah. I do like to have kind of music on it, kind of just. I don't like the changing room being quiet. I feel like you get a bit more nervous. It helps with the nerves just to relax a little bit if there's a bit of music going on a little bit in the background, just to keep your mind. You don't want to get too focused on the game, too caught up in the atmosphere in the changing room. So I do like a bit of music on in the background.
Who's the changing room DJ?
Sean McConville and Jimmy Bell, the assistant manager, likes to put on the music as well. So it's between the 2 of them at the moment, and both their music is pretty good. I have no complaints with either of their stuff.
Do you prefer day or night games?
Oh, day games, definitely day games. Night games, I feel like you're hanging around too long. There's too much time for the nerves to build up. I like kicking off at 3 o'clock. I'd like to kick off even early if we could, but I definitely prefer kicking off at 3 o'clock than to 7:45.
Do you play at 12:30 much?
No, we haven't often. No, I think since I've been here, maybe once we played Derby in the FA Cup, and it was on BT Sport. So that was a 12:30 kickoff, and that was great. You're just waking up and basically straight after the game. So I really enjoyed that. I wish we could kick off, like I said, every week at 12:30. But no, I think maybe once or twice since I've been here, we've kicked off at that time.
What's your favourite season been as a player?
The year we won the league, definitely. We won League 2 in 2017, 2018. We won the league and got promoted to League One, which was a great achievement for a club like Accrington Stanley to make it to League One. First time in the club's history that they've been in the 3rd tier. We were one of the teams with the lowest budgets in the division, and we were favourites for relegation at the start of the season. So to not just get promoted, but to win the league, to finish in first place ahead of Luton, Coventry, was a great achievement for a club like Accrington Stanley.
What happened that season to make promotion?
I don't know. I think, well, obviously John Coleman and Jimmy Bell did a great job. They assembled a very good squad on a tight budget. John Coleman is known for finding players, from non-league or players who've been released from bigger clubs, and realizing that they still have potential, that he can still get something out of them. So he signed a lad called Caden Jackson, who is now at Ipswich, but he really hit it off up front with Billy Key. They had a great partnership up front. And I just think that all the lads just bought into the way that John Coleman wanted to play, the style of play he wanted his teams to go out with every Saturday. These things happen in football. We just had a great season. We went on a fantastic run after Christmas. I think we won we got 51 points from a possible 54, and we were the form team in Europe. It was like us and Juventus were the 2 best form teams in Europe over that period. And we got 93 points at the end of the season, which is an amazing total. We won the league, I think, by 5 points ahead of Luton. It's fantastic times.
Did you go to games thinking, we're going to win this anyway?
No, because I think that well, I don't personally. I don't. I think that you can never just turn up and expect that you'll win the game, no matter who you're playing against. Because I think you'll get a big surprise, especially in League One. It's such a tight division. There's very little between first place and 24th place. If you watch the results any Tuesday night or Saturday, there'll be teams from the relegation zone beating teams in the playoffs every week. So there's no such thing as a foregone conclusion. I think you've got to treat every game, treat every team with the respect that they deserve, and understand that to win any game in this division is going to take an awful lot of hard work, a lot of skill, a little bit of luck along the way. But the harder you work, the more luck you'll have. You create your own luck. It takes an awful lot to win a game in League One, and you need to realise that before you play any match.
Do you ever think about anything on the pitch, or are you just focused on the game?
No, I'm always just focused on the game. Well, I'm thinking of things, but they're always just to do with the match. Never anything going on. I'm not thinking what I'm going to have for dinner or where we're going to go out the next night or anything like that. No, it's always about the match, about the game. I'll be analysing my own performance, but I'll be trying to analyse how the opposition are playing, what system they're playing, why, if we're under pressure, why is it that we're under pressure? What is it that we're not doing, or what is it the opposition are doing that we can counteract? Do we need to change our system? Do I need to have a suggestion to the assistant manager, to the manager? Are our strikers not performing? Is it our defenders that aren't performing well? Or if we're doing well, why are we doing well? And let's keep doing that. So you're always trying to analyze. Well, that's how my mind works anyway in a game. I'm always trying to analyse.
When the referee calls both captains over, what's some of the stuff they say?
So they just do the coin toss. They ask heads or tails. They usually ask the away team captain heads or tails. If you win the toss, you can then choose to either kick off or you can choose choice of ends. So sometimes if it's blowing a strong breeze or a strong wind, I like to win the toss because I like to play with the wind in the second half. Just this kind of superstition thing. I feel like, I want to finish the game the stronger. So if I win the toss and the wind is blowing a certain way, I might switch us around so that we have the wind in the second half. Other players disagree with that. They think that you should take the wind in the first half because it might die away by the second half. But I always feel like more often than not, it stays where it is. It stays quite strong. And I like to have the wind in the second half. And then obviously this season we've been doing taking the knee before the kickoff. So one whistle, take the knee, and then next whistle is kickoff.
Do you have to go to the officials before the game?
No, we used to. Every game we used to until this season, and I think it's because of COVID restrictions. Yeah. So we used to always. The captain always used to go in with the manager. They would hand in the team sheet to the referee, and the referee would just go over things. But it'd be the same things every week. He'd introduce you to his two linesmen or assistant referees, as they call it, the fourth official. He'd ask if you have any questions. I mean, what questions could you possibly have? Is it 90 minutes today, or I don't know, silly. We never had any questions to ask. Obviously, we knew what the game was. We know what the rules are, and then we go back to the dressing room and get ready for the warm up.
Have you ever had to have a go at a referee?
I have goes at referees all the time. Yeah, I think I might. I don't think referees like me too much. I'm always onto referees. Not that I'm trying to, gain an unfair advantage or intimidate them in any way. It's just, it's a way, I suppose, of letting out frustration. If you know that some players nearly always know whether something, which way a throw in should go, whether it was a corner or not, if it was a free kick, players always know. So if I feel like my team has been wronged, particularly if I feel like they've been wrong 2, 3, 4 times in a row here, I feel like I need to say something to the referee. And to be fair, I am at liberty to do that. As the captain, you are the person to speak to the referee. Referees would say there is a way to do it. So obviously you can't run at referee flailing your arms around, swearing at them, but just, maybe have a quiet word as you're running past the referee, or if there's a stoppage in the game or something, have a word with the referee. But I do talk to referees quite a bit. They'll probably say I talk to them too much, but I feel like it's part of my job, my role as a captain, to do that. try to get the best from my team.
Have you ever been booked for talking to a ref?
Yeah, quite a few times. Yeah, been booked. That's probably the reason I've been booked most, to be honest, in my career. A few tackles, but I'm usually pretty good with my tackles. If I go in for a tackle, I'm usually 80-90% confident that I'll win the ball. And I do time tackles well. If I don't feel like I'll win it, I don't go for the tackle. And I've only been sent off once in my career, which is, decent record for someone in my position, who makes quite a few tackles.
Has a player ever scored a goal that's left you gobsmacked, either for your team or the other?
Yeah, Sean McConville scored a goal. Sean McConville plays for Accrington. He scored a goal about 3 or 4 seasons from the halfway. 3 or 4 seasons ago from the halfway line. It went in. It hit the underside of the crossbar and went in. Probably one of the best goals I've seen on a football pitch. I've seen about 5 or 6 seasons ago, a lad from Portsmouth scored a volley from about 40 yards out, which it was dropping to him, and I thought, go ahead, kick that, have a shot there. There's no way you're going to score, and he's just looped it straight into the top corner over the keeper. They were probably the two best goals I've seen on a pitch while I've been playing.
Do you talk to the opposition on the pitch?
Yes, sometimes. Yeah, particularly if I've played with a lot of players through the years now. So often when I'm playing against an opposition, there'll be players that I know that have been teammates in the past. So you might have a quiet word with them while the ball's gone dead or something, or an injury, a stoppage in play. I wouldn't talk to them while the game was ongoing. That's for sure. I'd be focusing on my own team and my own teammates and my own performance. But yeah, all my friends that I have in my life now that I talk to still, they're all from football. So whether I was, that I played with underage growing up, or since I've been a professional, friendships that I've made, my circle of friends are all from football. So as much as it's given me a living and I've been a privilege to play football, that's something that football has given me, is a good group of friends that will be friends for my whole life.
Do you stay in touch with old teammates then?
Yeah, like I say, that's the thing. Yeah, I've lads that I played with, under 14s, under 15s, under 16s, who I still talk to quite a bit. Lads that I played with at Galway United and Sligo Rovers, and lads that I was at Sheffield United with. One of them moved to Australia, who I still speak to quite a bit. That is my core group of friends. All have that one thing in common: we all played football together at some point in our careers, and that's what brought us together. And we're still friends to this day, which is a very nice thing.
Do you like scoring goals?
Of course I do, yeah, but I don't score many of them. I might average one a season. I should score more as a midfielder, although I do play a bit more defensive now. I should score more. It's never been the strongest point of my game. I would like to score more. It's great scoring a goal. There's no better feeling on a football pitch than scoring a goal. I'd love to score more. And anyone who says they don't like scoring is lying to you. So I would like to score more goals.
Would you prefer 1 goal or 2 assists?
Oh, 1 goal, definitely 1 goal. Yeah. I think you get, you get your name, on the teletext or on Gillette Soccer Saturday, don't you? Coming up for scoring, you don't get your name on Gillette Soccer Saturday for giving an assist. I think that's the thing that's come into the game recently. Assist. When I started out, there was no such thing as assists. They weren't even a thing that was recorded. It's a thing that's come into the game. Maybe over the last 5 or 6 years, recording people's assists, and you get a little boot now, don't you, on live score if you go onto it.
Yeah.
A boot means an assist, doesn't it? And the ball means the goal. I'd much rather have the ball than the boot next to my name.
Obviously, because of lockdown, fans haven't been getting in the stadiums. Does iFollow bring a different audience to football?
It does. So a good case in point is my dad. He lives in Ireland. He wouldn't get over to many games, maybe 1 or 2 a year, but he's able to watch every one of them now through iFollow. So he's got a subscription and he's able to watch every game, which is great for him. So a very good question. I never really thought of that. Yes, iFollow has opened it up to a wider audience. I'm sure in different parts of the country here, but also other countries. So, as I mentioned, Ireland, my dad, but I know that Accrington Stanley have fan clubs in Canada and the USA, who I've done interviews with and podcasts with as well, and they're able to follow every game now through iFollow. But it's not this. It's not this, as a player. It's not the same playing the games behind closed doors. That's for sure. And we've had some quite a few good results this year, and it's a little. Obviously, we love to win, but it's a little sour taste after you've had a really good win, especially at home. You think it would have been great if the fans were here today. They'd have really enjoyed this one, especially the night games. You get a great atmosphere at night. So we played Hull last Tuesday night, and we beat them 2-0. Great result. Everyone was buzzing. Everyone was delighted. Hull were top of the table. Brilliant win for us. But it would have just been that much better if the fans were there as well to experience it with us.
I think attendance, season ticket holders, would they not attend anymore if they know iFollows? They can just watch it at home?
No, I don't think so. I think they'll be straight back. I don't think there'll be any drop in attendances. It's not just coming to the game. It's the whole match day. So it's getting up, having your breakfast. If it's an away game, it's traveling on the bus with your mates, having a drink, having something to eat, going to the pub before the game, going to the ground, sampling the atmosphere, having the pie or whatever it is that you eat. Coming back on the bus after a win, singing the songs. It's all that camaraderie that you don't get that through iFollow. So I don't think there'll be any question that as soon as fans are allowed back into the stadiums, which hopefully is sooner rather than later, they'll be back in as many numbers as are allowed into the ground. Will be back in.
Do you feel as a captain you have to sometimes get the fans going?
Not me personally. It's the team's job to get the fans going. Accrington Stanley fans are great. They always make a great atmosphere at home, and they make themselves heard away from home. They don't travel in the biggest numbers because we're not the biggest club. We don't have the biggest fan base, but they certainly make themselves heard. But it's not just up to me. It's up to the team to perform, to make chances, to create a buzz, to create an excitement, and then that fuels the fans. Then, and they start chanting, singing their songs, making an atmosphere, making it difficult for the opposition, but also giving us a boost and allowing us to perform that little bit extra. That might be the difference between losing a game or drawing a game and winning a game.
With some draws, do you think it's 2 points lost or 1 point gained?
Yeah, it depends what the game is. So if you're playing Hull City away from home and you get a point, it's probably a point gained. Whereas if you're playing bottom of the table at home and you're on a good run and you're 1-0 up in the 89th minute and they score in the last kick of the game, you're looking at it as 2 points dropped. So it depends on the scenario of the game. There's different circumstances. That game yesterday that we played, probably a point gained because Plymouth is a long way away. It's a long journey, so it's a lot of travelling. They're very good at home. They're very good home form. We played Hull 3 days before and put an awful lot of effort into that game. So there's probably a few tired bodies, tired minds as well. So that's probably a point gained. But you probably look at it at the end of the season and you add everything up. So if we miss out on the playoffs by 2 points, we might think that was 2 points dropped. But say we make it into the playoffs by 1 point, you could say, oh, it was that game. That was the point game that got us in then. So probably best to add it up at the end of the season and see whether it was a point gained or 2 points lost.
Is promotion all right for Accrington this season?
It's been mentioned. We've spoken about it as a team, and I know that there's people in the media who are talking about it because of our position. We're in a decent position. We're just outside the playoffs with the games in hand. I prefer not to talk about it. It might be a bit boring, but I just take it one game at a time. I know it's an old cliche, but I do find it's the best way to be successful. Just take it one game at a time. Don't get ahead of yourself. Don't even look who you're playing in 2 or 3 games time. Just concentrate on. So this Tuesday we've got Bristol Rovers. That's the be all and end all. That's the most important game. That's the cup final. That's everything. Just try and get 3 points against Bristol Rovers, and then come May the 8th, May the 9th, whenever the season ends, you just add up all the points and see where you are.
Do you have any funny or interesting stories from your career?
One day when we were training and we were having a five-a-side game or something like that, and it was a really bad standard. No one was scoring goals. Everybody kept kicking the ball over the bar or missing chances. So the assistant manager said, because he'd just come from, Jimmy Bell had come from Ireland, and they play a sport over there, like I mentioned, Gaelic football, where you get 3 points for kicking it under the bar, and you get a point if you kick it over the bar. And he said, you look like you're playing Gaelic football, or you kicking it over the bar. So, right, okay, we're going to play. You get a point if you kick it over the bar now. So everyone just started kicking it over the bar. It was just bizarre. No one was trying to kick it in the goal anymore. And lads were celebrating when they kicked it over the bar. They'd scored a goal or something like that. And then another day we had an ice bath. I think it was pre-season. It was a really warm day. So we were doing a five-a-side at the end of the game. And there was an ice bath just outside the changing rooms. So the manager told everyone, there was 6 or 7 lads on each team. So everyone had to marry up with a member of the other team. So you were their marker. And if your marker scored, you had to run, jump in the ice bath, and then come back and continue the game, soaking wet, covered in ice and freezing cold. So everyone was making sure that their marker didn't score. But like obviously some goals were scored, so lads had to run off, jump in the ice bath, and then come back and continue the game. So that was pretty funny.
Do you have any plans for the future yet?
Yeah, so like I said, I did that sports journalism course. So I think that once I finish football, I'd like to go into not even sports journalism, just some kind of journalism. I'm interested in current affairs, news. I like the radio. I did a work placement with BBC Lancashire, Radio Lancashire, sorry, and I enjoyed that. So I think I'd like to go into that area, whatever that might be.
Would you ever consider coaching?
I have considered it. Yeah, I've started out doing my most basic badges. My next one that I'd have to do would be my UEFA B badge. So it is something that I have considered doing. I haven't ruled it out, but it's not my number one choice at the moment. But it's certainly something that is an option. That's for sure.
How was your time at Sheffield United?
Like I said, I learned a lot while I was there. I mean, I became a better player, but I never felt comfortable. I never felt like I belonged. I went into training and I was always nervous. I felt like I was on trial for the whole 18 months. And I felt like the other lads, the senior pros didn't, not that they were nasty to me or anything, but I didn't feel like I was good enough to be there. I didn't feel like I was good enough to train with them. I wasn't at that standard yet. And I got to a point where I'd rather train with the reserves, because I felt like I was good enough to play with them and I wasn't really good enough to play with the first team. So like I say, I wasn't surprised when I left, when I got released after 18 months, went back to Sligo Rovers. But immediately when I went to Sligo, I got my confidence back again, because they played in a division that I'd already played in with Galway United, and I'd done well in it. So I knew I was okay for this level. And as chance would have it, luckily enough, John Coleman came, got the Accrington job. I did well while I was at Sligo with him, and he gave me the chance to move to Accrington, and that was my way back to playing football in England again.
What's the best ground you've been to as a player?
We played West Ham in the League Cup about 4 or 5 years ago now, and they just moved into the Olympic Stadium. So that was great. There was about 50,000 fans there. Accrington brought about 1,000 fans themselves. We played them on a Wednesday night under the lights. It was really good. We put in a good performance as well. We held them till about, it was stoppage time, I think, and Dimitri Payet scored a free kick. So yeah, that was probably the best ground I played in. We played in some nice ones. Sunderland is a great ground we go to every year in League One. We played there in front of 30,000 fans a few times. Portsmouth is a great ground because it's not a big one. It maybe holds about 15,000, 18,000, but it's full, and it's very loud as well. So that's a great ground to play in as well, Fratton Park.
Is there a difference between playing home and away?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's if you look at the results any Saturday, go through all the divisions, most of the wins will be home wins. I think obviously because in a normal season, it's because the fans, just natural human instinct. You play better, you express yourself more when you feel like you've got the backing. Whereas when you go away from home, you're playing against that. But also it's your home comfort. So, you sleep in your own bed the night before. You travel to the ground on a journey that's familiar to you. You arrive at the changing room. Your changing room is always bigger. The home changing room is always a bit nicer than the away one. You're just a bit more comfortable. You're comfortable with the dimensions of the pitch. Some pitches are bigger, some pitches are smaller. So you know what your home pitch is like. Your team is probably tailored to play in a way. So if you've got a big pitch, you probably play a big, expansive style of football. Whereas if you've got a small pitch, your manager probably tries to get a play a little bit of, on the front foot, up and at 'em kind of style of play. Make it hard for the opposition. Don't give them any time. Swamp all over them. Press them high up the pitch. So I think there are reasons why you'll see most teams perform well. All teams really perform better at home than they do away. It's definitely easier playing at home than it is away.
Is it easier to play against a long ball or out from the back?
I prefer playing against a long ball team because I feel like I can read the game well. So I know if I can predict that they're going to go long, I can put myself in a position to pick up the second ball off of our defenders. If it goes over my head, I feel like our defenders are solid in the air and they'll knock the ball back towards me. I can pick it up, and also it's not as much running. So as I've said a few times, I'm getting a bit older. If you're playing against a team that moves the ball around well, passes it quick, you have to do a lot more running, a lot more shuffling side to side. It's a lot more energy sapping. So then when you do get the ball, you find it hard to do things yourself because your legs are tired. You're struggling for your breath. Your legs feel like jelly. That's because you've been chasing after the ball for the last 5-10 minutes. So I find it easier to play against more of a physical team, a long ball team, than I do a team that's good on the ball and likes to play football.
Do you remember your debut for any clubs?
Yeah, I remember them all. Yeah. My debut for Accrington was against Tranmere away. We lost 3-0. So I think the manager says he was looking for the receipt for me after that game. He was thinking of sending me back to Sligo. He says that all these years now, but yeah, we lost 3-0 the first game, but things have got better since then. I made my debut for Galway United when I was 19 against a team called Shamrock Rovers. They're probably the most famous team in Ireland. They played, they've won the most leagues, and my debut for Sligo Rovers was against a team called Brave Wanderers. So they're my three debuts. I never played for Sheffield United, as I said. I never played a first team game.
Did you get approached by any other clubs?
No, I haven't. No. When I was at Galway United, before I signed for Sheffield United, there was interest from a few other League of Ireland clubs. Shamrock Rovers were interested, and I think Dundalk were interested. But because of the chance to move to England, Sheffield United, who were a championship club at the time, that was a lot more appealing to me than moving to another club in the League of Ireland. And since I've been at Accrington, I've not that I'm aware of. I haven't been approached. Certainly not to me anyway. That I've been approached from any other club.
You said you were going to finish your career there. Would any offer not would you go at any offer?
Well, I mean, it's of course, if it was a ridiculous offer with ridiculous money, it's gonna take some. You'd have to give it some consideration, some thought. I'm a husband now. I have 2 young children who I want to support. And as much as football is a great job, it is the way I make a living. I'm the breadwinner in my house. I provide try and provide a good life for my wife and my children. So obviously money is a factor in that. So if it was a ridiculous offer, I would certainly give it some consideration, but I don't think that's going to happen, not at my stage. And I'm very happy at Accrington. I've been very, very lucky since I've been here. I've been treated really well by the manager and the chairman, Andy Holt, who's done some great things for Accrington. I've got another year on my contract after this season. And I've absolutely no intention of going anywhere else. Very, very happy at Accrington Stanley.
Do you stay off social media as a player?
Yeah, I don't. I don't read any forums or Twitter or Facebook. It's really not a good idea. I know that players can get affected by it. I mean, football's a game of opinions, really, isn't it? Someone might think you're brilliant, and someone else. You could have two people sitting right next to each other watching a game, and they come away with a completely different opinion. Somebody might thought Conneely, number 28, man of the match, and the fellow right beside him could have thought Conneely, 28. Don't know why he wasn't taken off at half time. He was awful. It's just a game of opinions, isn't it? People see different qualities in players, feel like the game should be played in a different way. You don't get anything from, if you go on social media and I always think if you believe the good stuff about you, it means you're going to also believe the bad stuff about you. So there's no point in doing it. If you're going on looking for good stuff, confidence boosters or something like that, you're going to find someone who doesn't think you're as good and will be critical about you. So that'll probably have more effect in the long run than the people saying the good stuff about you. So I stay away from it, and that'd be my advice to any pros, any young pros. Would be, you can be on social media, but don't follow Accrington Stanley, or don't follow football teams on Twitter and stuff like that.
Well, aren't you ever tempted to just, if you think you've had a good game, just to look and see to be sure?
No, I'm not on social media anyway, so I can't log on to any of these things. No, I mean, if I feel like I've had a good game, I've had a good game, and that's all that matters. I don't need somebody else to confirm it for me. That's an important thing. You should trust your own mind. If you feel like you've not performed well, you need to sit down and analyze it. Realize why you didn't perform well, and then look to put it right in the next game.
What's your favourite shirt you've played in?
Well, I played for Ireland under-21s, and that would be like one of the proudest moments of my career. So I have the shirt that I wore when I made my debut, number 5 Ireland shirt. As an Irishman, I think anyone is always, it's a pinnacle of anyone's career would be to play for their country. So that's probably my favourite shirt that I've worn. Accrington Stanley, since I've been at Accrington Stanley, we had a red and white striped shirt one season we finished in the playoffs. I think that's probably my favourite kit since I've.
And we're done. I hope everyone enjoyed. It was great to speak to an EFL captain about his experiences in football and what he wants to do for the future. Remember to hit subscribe, like, and I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.